You've been on this channel for any length of time. You know, and I know, my favorite content to make is when somebody out there is stupid enough to fake anything. Kidnappings, racial discrimination, interracial discrimination, homophobic hate crimes, white on white hate crimes. It is my most favorite thing to talk about. I feel like I got another piece of pep in my step when it is there, because the interesting layers of stupidity to exist, to fake something going on in one's life, is so bombastically stupid, it knows no bounds. You could think at some point we could reach a peak where people's creativity would no longer be able to top the previous. But unfortunately, that is not the case today. Do you remember? I believe it was maybe a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks back, that we had all these people very bombastically upset. Oh my God, we must think of the children as it pertains to deportation. All around audio of a child screaming that nobody bothered to verify, which actually was from a movie and not from a child seeing their parent in the year 2025 being deported in front of their eyes. And you thought at that moment people wouldn't be able to top that, right? Because stupidity knows no bounds. And you would think that at that moment you couldn't get dumber in the realm of deportation, because there are a lot of things to worry about, especially if you're a child and you're seeing your parent get taken and put into a van and they're never seen again. And you get that random phone call of abuelita saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I am, but I hope you stay safe. It's very traumatic. And that's a real thing a lot of people have to deal with in the here and now. So you could imagine my shock when I'm seeing this story go viral of a parent being randomly scooped up from the streets of the city they live in.
The last 5 days have been a nightmare.
Because the family of Julie Calderon doesn't know where their mother is.
What's happening is absolutely horrific, and it's unacceptable.
Last Wednesday night, Calderon was on her way to her janitorial job when she tells her family she was followed by 2 unmarked vehicles along Alameda. Feeling unsafe, she pulled into this parking lot in South LA.
Ununiformed men and unmarked cars kidnapped Julie.
The family lawyer says Calderon has been able to make 2 phone calls since this happened, telling them the men didn't identify themselves, and instead of taking her to a detention center in LA, she was driven to San Ysidro.
She was taken straight from here to the border and pressured to sign self-deportation paperwork.
And when she refused and asked to speak with a lawyer, she was transported with others to a warehouse Calderon says is not far from where she was initially taken.
She told us that some people had been in that warehouse for months. She said they are keeping us here until we agree to sign voluntary self-deportation paperwork.
And nobody's able to verify where this woman is. And she's in a warehouse somewhere being told that she can't leave until she signs self-deportation papers. And you can imagine the shock of an entire community that somebody could be scooped up and they're being put into this warehouse with other people who also can't leave because they haven't signed these self-deportation papers. Well, my children, you could rest easy knowing that those things, at least in this instance, does not exist, because it seems like abuelita was lying through her teeth the whole time.
Breaking news at this hour, the Department of Justice has filed criminal charges against a South LA woman saying she staged a fake immigration kidnapping. Uriana Julie Calderon is facing charges of conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers. Last month, the local activist said she was taken from a South LA parking lot by so-called bounty hunters and into federal custody. She also claimed she was held at a facility near the border where she was urged to self-deport. Homeland Security called this case a hoax and say they found her on July 5th at a shopping center in Bakersfield. They also say phone records and surveillance video proves her story is not true. She is currently in custody, awaiting her first court appearance.
On June 30th, Calderon's family and attorney held a news conference claiming that she had been taken from a fast food restaurant parking lot in downtown Los Angeles, driven to the U.S.-Mexico border, and told to self-deport. At the same time, her daughter launched a GoFundMe campaign because for some reason you can somehow get your family member back with a bunch of money, and federal agents began searching for Calderon since she was not in their records and being in immigration custody, according to the DOJ. Authorities later found Calderon at a shopping plaza in Bakersfield. Dangerous rhetoric that ICE agents are kidnapping illegal immigrants is being recklessly peddled by politicians and echoed in the media to inflame the public and discredit our courageous federal agents. The conduct alleged in today's complaint shows that this hoax kidnapping was a well-orchestrated conspiracy. The DOJ said surveillance footage shows Calderon leaving a Jack-in-the-Box parking lot and getting into a sedan. Telephone records also indicate that she fabricated the story. Calderon and her family knew that law enforcement were searching for her and feared for her safety, but Calderon and her family did not come forward. Instead, Calderon created what law enforcement believed to be fabricated photos of her rescue made to look as if she was abused while in ICE custody, and planned to hold a press conference on July 6th to increase donations to the GoFundMe because, again, for some reason, when you are kidnapped, money is the best way to get you out of that and to obtain other benefits. If convicted, Calderon faces up to 5 years in prison, which I believe is not the right punishment. If it is true that this woman orchestrated this entire ruse for a bunch of money, ship that bitch back to Mexico where she belongs. Because you know what? In the grand scheme of topics around illegal immigration and who's a criminal and who's MS-13 and who's trafficking and who's doing the drug peddling and who's actually a green card and who's actually in a scenario where the fucking Louisiana government is writing letters to each other to get somebody freed, because that's a real thing that fucking happened, and that's a slap in the face to a lot of motherfuckers who fit that same criteria, and how all you need is the right type of story to hit the right person at the right point of time in the day, and you could get off scot-free while still being in this country, which is bullshit. And you would actually have to put forth that process to other people who have the exact same fucking story. It is embarrassing how many people are that willing to get a leg up just to play on people's sympathies. I've told you all this. People are evil. They are going to go out and see a bunch of people actually being hurt, families being torn apart, people are crying, and they're going to think to themselves, ooh, I can make a bag. I can somehow tug on those heartstrings nice and tight. And from what I could understand, thankfully, this GoFundMe really wasn't getting a lot of traction. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm just going off the cuff because I feel like as we have reached our apex in terms of stupidity around GoFundMes, people are starting to understand, wait a minute, I don't need to give my money out to any of you, especially when my money will not do anything in this scenario. Because can anybody, even if you don't like me, even if you actually like me, could you actually write me like some detailed statement about how money being taken from me and given to you would actually help find somebody? What the fuck? Are y'all hiring the fucking Scooby-Doo crew to come get this motherfucker from somewhere? Because I feel as though when you sit there and you're making a GoFundMe around a missing person, maybe you could say it's about a funeral, but we don't know if the bitch dead yet. So what would the money be for? Would it be to find a private investigator? Would it be to hire a private investigator? Because it was said that people were looking for this person. And it's embarrassing how people went the route of the GoFundMe and thought the bullshit sniffers wouldn't be able to sniff out that bullshit. And thankfully, we are reaching this point where the entire family maybe is in on it. And if they're not, damn, Calderon, you got a lot of explaining to do because you traumatized your family with this gimmick that you went missing. But if they're all in on it, I feel as though, and you could disagree with me, you could ship them all back. Whoever's in on it, ship them all back and leave everybody else to be faithful citizens in this not so glorious country at the moment. Because, you know, we got a lot of problems in this country that people think are being fixed, and some people are delusional about that. And for the rest of us, we see the writing on the wall, and we're just here until we die. But until we die, there will always be things out there for us to look at, see as stupid, and say, wow, that's stupid, and then go hit the bed and spread our kids all over that bed sheet with the washing machine being very close by. And for those people, I say subscribe to the channel, where you will always see a fake story about a kidnapping, racial disputes, Cheez-Its and masturbation, children being scooped up off the sidewalks, getting getting beaten up by white men when in reality you caught a Molotov to the face because you were out somewhere you weren't supposed to be, and you will always see me giving the verbal lashings necessary because I cannot fucking stand that real stories get ignored for the bullshit puff pieces that somehow go viral every single time. And when I point it out, somehow I'm the bad guy up until you can't defend that shit anymore. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in the next one. Mwah! Goodbye.